numbers out, and the big streaming partner, Amazon, is going to get the opportunity to be the forebearer for the league, and they are going to spend an inordinate amount of money. Other TV and streaming partners are fighting for the second, third, and fourth pieces of the pie. As it stands right now, NBC is looking to spend $2.5 billion a year.
Righteous bucks, my man.
$2.5 billion. That's for the third biggest package. Think about what that means for the NBA. Okay? That means you're probably looking at a media rights deal of upwards of $7 to $8 billion a year, which comes close to the NFL's.
Really?
9.
9?
Yeah, it was 9.2, I believe, is what the NFL was. But again, we're talking about billion. So
yeah,
and the difference between 8 and 9 is a lot of money.
Yeah, 8 and 9, that is a lot of money. But at the same time, you look at it and you say the inventory. This is why the NBA is appealing.
Because
Inventory,
there's a lot of it.
30 teams, 82 games. Mm-hmm. You have a lot of room.
And live sports
live programming
is the thing that everybody wants right now. Now, NBC is rumored to be the one that is coming in to grab that third and biggest last piece. That would leave TNT on the outside looking in unless they're willing to raise their offer to $2.8 billion. So there is a bidding war that is taking place. And whether and how this gets sorted out is going to be really interesting because it was long thought. The folks on TNT, i.e. Ernie, Kenny, Charles, Shaq, they are paid a substantial amount of money. They're some of the highest paid people in sports. Why? Because they have one of the highest ratings in sports. They've been doing it a very long time, and everybody who's tried to recreate what they have has failed. They are one of one. Ernie Johnson is TNT through and through. It was long thought, up until probably about, I say, a year ago, that whoever got the rights, if it wasn't TNT, NBA and TNT would just move to whatever new provider there was. Ernie is going to stay at TNT.
And this is the thing, the loyalty that TNT gave Ernie through all of his health issues, whether, it was his first cancer diagnosis, his second, they have been kind of attached at the hip. He's been in one place for a very long time. He lives in Atlanta, doesn't want to leave Atlanta, and I appreciate that loyalty from Ernie. Ernie is one of the greatest. And look, that show can't go on without Ernie. It can't. Like
No.
Ernie Johnson, they need Ernie.
Ernie's the best host in sports.
There is nobody that can wrangle the other three chuckleheads like at all. There's
style.
no way, shape, or form.
It's not just wrangling them. It's
chemistry.
Them up.
It's continuity. He has it, and he can tell them to pipe down. And Charles Barkley doesn't listen to anybody. He listens to Ernie Johnson. That's the craziest part about it, and I love it because he's like the team dad who's in there.
Knock it off, Chuck.
Yeah. And he'll
sorry, Ernie.
He'll put Shaq in his place and doesn't need to with Kenny, but when the bullying on Kenny gets too much.
Yeah, he'll pull him back, or when Kenny falls and they do a chalk outline.
It's perfect. And look, I've seen this, and I believe that they could still do inside the NBA even if TNT loses rights. Because if a game ends and I know that they're on, I'll flip over.
Flip it over to TNT.
I'll flip it over there. I know where it is.
It's one way to do it.
I know where it lives. I will miss pregame. I'll miss halftime. But if you give me twice a week, a 2 times a week of that show, just being all-encompassing NBA, I'm in for it. It's gonna suck though if they do have to leave. But I hope, I don't know if there's a way you can farm it out.
Man, that's the thing is, Charles Barkley has said he won't leave Ernie.
No, and Charles doesn't need to.
No.
That's the thing that is great about that show, is that none of them need the money from that show.
Oh, God, no. They're all loaded.
They get paid a king's ransom to do the show.
Those guys are some of the highest paid people in sports on the broadcasting side.
But it is because of
their success.
That is not just the success, but their enjoyment that they get out of it.
So, the flip side of this is if the NBA does come back to NBC, Round Ball Rock will be relicensed.
Yeah, let's go.
So it's but I love Round Ball Rock.
here,
But I don't want to miss out on Ernie.
if TNT doesn't have the NBA rights, can you imagine Unhinged, Charles and Shaq? Because they don't care about the partnership right now. And like when they brought Jaren Jackson on, and Chuck asks about Ja Morant, like that is something that only they can do. Because they wouldn't have if that show was on ESPN or if it was on NBC or if it was on Amazon Prime, is anybody else going to ask who has the clout, the credibility, and the personality to be able to ask the question about Ja Morant right now? Because the NBA doesn't want it. Is Adam Silver going to say anything to Charles Barkley about asking Ja Morant questions to Jaren Jackson? Because he started that question with, I know you don't want me to, I know I'm not supposed to ask this, but what was it like with dealing with Ja?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a genuine and a real interaction that they had. And it didn't make Jaren Jackson Jr. look bad. It didn't make Ja Morant look bad. But it was a question that we wouldn't have seen anywhere else. They would have just asked the canned questions about, Triple J, and that was it. They need to have them. They need to have that show. The NBA needs that show.
I think they do too, because the NFL, what they do better than every other league is promote their game. I'd say baseball does it better than the NBA too. I think they've lost a little bit of it without Chris Rose and Millar being together, which was the best. That to me was the best off-day sports show in sports.
And that's a show that people could just go and they could flip on. They weren't doing it for a pre or a post game show.
Nope.
They just knew
every day on MLB Network.
At bat was going to be on,
and it was one of the best sports shows there was. But when you've got this kind of thing going, it would suck to see it go, because the product around the NBA sucks on the national side.
It does.
All they want to do is it wants to be messy. It's about trading somebody. It's about rumors. It's not talking about the game.
Or it's just about the Lakers.
Yes. And it's just so tiresome.
And that's another great part, is that when Shaq goes on his beating his Lakers drum, Charles and Kenny will just tell him to shut up.
Also, he'll because he's a part owner in the Kings, he will beat the Kings drum, which is good.
And they talk about all of the teams, and they will bash everybody equally.
And they make fun of Charles' stupidity with who he played for.
That's right. That's right.
Which is actually making fun of, I don't know, Stephen A. Smith for saying, well, not Miles McBride, who's got traded on to Detroit, the guard. God dang it. He mentioned him in the game. Now I look like an idiot. Detroit young guard that got traded over at the trade deadline. And then Stephen A. Smith said, oh, yeah, no, he looked great last night. And it was like, buddy, he got traded 2 months ago. Which now I'm failing because the who he played for Olympics has got my brain twisted up.
Right now?
Yeah.
It's not Cunningham or Ivy.
No.
Sasser? Marcus?
No.
Malachi Flynn?
No.
Quentin Grimes.
Thank you.
Quentin Grimes.
Yeah.
Boy.
Took me a second to get that one. There you go. My brain's mush right now. But yeah, you may be looking
You got one of them smooth brains.
I
I've
do.
heard about.
You may be looking at that, or that's the kind of situation you're looking at with the who he played for and the stupidity that surrounds basketball coverage in general.
Yeah, exactly.
It's tough. But yeah, that's where you sit right now.
That's a lot of cash, though. I mean, for the NBA's TV rights, and they're going on shorter deals, right? So it's not like because the NFLs were 10 years. How long are these deals going to be?
If I remember right, the years haven't been out there publicly, but I want to say it's 7.
7?
Yeah, I think it's 7. I've heard a couple different versions of it, but I'm pretty sure it's 7.
All right.
So, but yeah, that's the way that's shaping up is either the NBA is going to get more money or TNT is going to be out.
Well, if you think Bradley Beal is overpaid at $50 million a year, wait until we have somebody making $100 million a year, because that spike in the salary cap is going to be enormous. Enormous. We're going to have a $100 million player by the end of this deal.
Yes.
Yes. There will be a guy who's making $100 million a year.
Yeah. Who's the first
playing
one?
in the NBA?
Probably not in the league yet. It's probably 2 years away. Wemby could be that guy. Like if you're talking about production scales and like who should get it, if you're talking about if anybody's going to get it, it is him.
Yeah. Well,
If he's healthy, he has
actually,
the opportunity to.
he might be the guy who does it, because if he goes at the end of his rookie contract, it'll be 4 years, so I'll put him in 2028,
Mhm.
and then you go to a supermax deal, which he's already qualifying for.
Yes.
Once he gets all NBA,
Mhm.
he's going to hit the supermax qualifier, and then at that point, it's just the percentage of the cap,
which
and
is
then
35%.
he probably hits that. He's probably
Yeah.
the first guy that's going to qualify to hit that in his deal. Damn.
If it's not 100 million, it's going to be real close. High 80s, low 90s.
So, parents out there,
Basketball.
teach your kids to be 7 feet, very athletic.
Basketball is guaranteed money. Baseball's another good one too.
Yeah.
Guaranteed money.
You only have to do the hardest thing in all of sports, hit a baseball.
Or throw it.
Or not care about your elbow.
Yeah. Listen, I'd give up my UCL for 20 mil.
I would too. Right now, I'd give up my UCL for half of the Astros pitching staff, which apparently
Doesn't
is
have
just
one.
falling apart.
That happens.
Yeah.